Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this group of people. I ask for your blessing upon them tonight in this meeting. Thank you for their wisdom and their guidance. Lord, I just ask that you just be with them in all that this meeting holds for them tonight.
And Father, I also come in Jesus' name, and I thank you for your awesome love. I thank you for the community of Alva, and I just pray that your spirit would be here. I pray that you would give these people a lot of wisdom, a lot of guidance, even beyond themselves. Lord, help them to do the job of taking care of their people. Thank you for your tremendous love for each one here. Thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Stephanie, can we have a roll call, please?
Hoffman.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Rutenberg.
Here.
Swallow. Here. Bowman.
Yes.
Parsons.
Here.
Ferris.
Here.
Adair.
All right, we indeed have a quorum. And on to number 4, discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at city council meetings will be approved by one vote of the council. Any member of the council desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items. A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, February 17th.
Do you do this separate or do I do A and B?
A and B.
And B, approval of claims in the amount of $98,852.14 and payroll expenses of $243,983.14. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
Do I have a second? We have a motion by Councilman Bowman and a second by Councilman Lahr. Call a vote. Right. Is there any further discussion? I guess not. All right, call vote, please.
Bowman.
Yes.
Lahr.
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
Rutenberg.
Yes.
Swallow.
Yes.
Parsons.
Yes.
Ferris.
Yes. That's a good question.
It says be sure to say if the motion was to approve or disapprove. The motion is consistent with the agenda items. It's not necessary to restate the agenda item.
Okay.
That's in
Yeah.
entirety.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that passed, yes? All right. So on to number 6, reports from staff. Alva Planning Commission,
No meeting.
no meeting. And we have the Alva Hospital Authority.
It was a very brief meeting. I might say that patient revenue is up very significantly, and other than that, it was very routine.
Public Library.
Okay, they're working on their new budget for next year, and their day-to-day items are going well. We're in the process of reviewing policies and procedures, and we did 2 more this month. Angela's going to Phoenix, Arizona to learn how to proceed with an American 250 grant that she has received. And then she is also going to be presenting a session at the Oklahoma Library Association meeting. So she's going to be busy.
Do we have an arena authority?
I don't have a meeting report, but I do know that they are in line seeking actually a final certificate of occupancy by the time they have the bull battle. So,
Oh, wow, very nice. All right, Board of Adjustments.
I have a question on
Skip
the
it to
arena
yourself.
authority. I've had several questions about how the fairgrounds fits into the arena authority and how are they still renting properties out there? Are they still doing events out there? I know Woods County just authorized the Rotary to do 4th of July out there.
I thought they did that at ARC.
Saltport, huh?
Yeah,
You're talking about daytime
fairgrounds.
activities?
Yeah.
It's the,
fairgrounds. So,
it's a pre-fireworks thing, maybe a band, food trucks, things like that, at the fairgrounds.
So the fairgrounds, there's a lease between the airport / city and the fair board / county. That's not been negated at this point. So the terms of that lease will remain in effect until they don't. As far as answering some of those questions, I mean, if the fair board were to give up their lease, then we would, as a city council and as the airport.
so it's all the fair board. It's still the fair board. If somebody has a question on that, they call the fair board?
On the arena, they call,
No, on the fairgrounds.
Well, right now, it's the fair board.
It's still the fair board.
all right. Tourism Tax Commission?
I'm sorry, Mayor. I will tell you that I am working on a proposal, and I'll get it emailed out to you, but they've asked, the Arena Authority has asked for consideration on utilities. And so I'm working on a proposal that I'll get emailed out to you guys. You can send me your feedback, and then we can possibly discuss it at another, maybe one of the other meetings that we're trying to do each month. But working on a proposal of what the city can do for utilities, trash and water with the arena to help them in their startup.
Yeah, I think that's like a 6-month period they're kind of looking for help with.
I
I think I saw that somewhere in something.
think they would take 6 years. But any consideration that's given towards that kind of assistance would be council action. Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. Okay, now, Tourism Tax Commission.
Sadie's not here.
No meeting.
I didn't think they had a meeting. Okay, yeah, they didn't have a meeting.
All right. Board of Adjustments?
No meeting.
No meeting. Alva Regional Airport Commission meeting.
There is, a report in here about what's going on at the airport. I will tell you, I've talked to a lot of the pilots that are out there every day. They are extremely pleased with the hire. Tyson, he was the airport manager several years ago, and he's moving back to the area, so they're very pleased to have Tyson back. All I've heard is good things. As you can see, the fuel price has been raised at the airport like it has been everywhere, but everything's good at the airport.
I will say, I was just out there this evening with Bob Baker and Tyson, and we still do have extremely competitive, especially jet fuel
Oh,
rates.
yeah.
And somebody was flying in a private jet, and one of the other pilots from Steggs was going to cook them a meal and whatever was going on. And then also Bob Baker has been trying to line up a couple of the airport board members and myself to go travel around the state and look at some new terminal buildings and possibly start working up some kind of a scope of what we'd like to see in a new terminal building, which the commission Bob sits on now would be putting up half the money for that.
Yep.
So that would be all my remarks on that. Okay, Alva Parks and Recreation,
No meeting.
Alva Municipal Cemetery.
They met.
We were there.
And it was a routine meeting. They did have a new member, Chet Sheelight, at this meeting, and they've got one vacancy, which the mayor's looking to fill.
Yes, and I did put that on Facebook, and I've gotten several names. I'm going to take those names and turn them over to the cemetery board and let them kind of choose who they think would be a good fit.
The board members did also get to meet the new sexton, Ethan Robinson, is in that position. He's a good, hard-working young man. I think he's going to do a good job for us out there.
Finance Committee.
Our meeting was pretty much a lot of the same that we've been talking about the last few months. We're still on a spending and hiring freeze, but we are moving in the right direction. Total cash trends improved. Our general fund deficit was down 22,000 over last month, which was an improvement. Our revenue over expenses improved a little bit, about 1% over last month. So we're slowly trending in the right direction. Just going to take a little while to keep falling out of it.
City Economics Report.
I think the city economics report is in your packet. I will tell you that there is some conversation with a restaurant and a couple other retail places that are looking at Alva and trying to get, all the information they need to make a decision for themselves. And so we're cooperating with their requests for information, and I would love nothing more than to, one of these meetings, have an announcement to make. But I may not wait till a meeting.
Did I make Roger mad by not introducing him on my one last mayor duty?
Yes.
Well, he's not that.
Oh, I know.
No, you did
Where is
not. You did not.
All right, City Mayor's Report, which is my first one. So it's been an amazing month. I go and spend about an hour with Kelly every morning early, and we talk about yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and that's been kind of a trend with me, and it kind of helps me get involved and get up to speed with what's going on with the city. And then I spent a week sitting through budget meetings, and that's kind of sad as a mayor, but I think every city puts up with some of that, so I hope we can come up with something that works in our town, does better. And some different committee meetings I got to go to, and part of touring the arena and being in on some of the talks of the temporary certificate of occupancy out there, and just some really exciting stuff. And I believe Kelly and I, coming the 10th and 11th of next month, are headed off to an OML meeting, which will be a first for me. So lots of exciting stuff from the mayor. So now the city business manager report.
Well, I'm just going to maybe hit a couple highlights. You've got the written report, Marion. I think I got you a copy over there as well. Just bullet point kind of items, but we did hire Tina Hunt to be our HR clerk. She'll start March 31st. We're excited to have Tina on the team. We think she'll do a good job. I'll let you know that we did receive from the Department of Labor an audit of OSHA, and so we have some deficiencies that we're submitting a plan of correction on there. Nothing significant, but we're working on that. Normally we don't do those, but we're also requested to submit annual illness and injury report to the Department of Labor. If we submit that, then they don't come out and do an audit. But we did not submit that last year, so we got the audit this year. But we're getting that plan of correction submitted. I think, all in all, I think the transition is going well. I think morale has been pretty good. We're having, anytime we post a position, we're having some really good applicants put in for it, and so that's nice to not just, the airport, I think we had 5 people that we interviewed for the airport position, and we, had 5 or 6 that we interviewed for the HR position, and could have, either one of those groups of people could have hired 3 of those people, and so we're I think something of an opportunity that people are looking for, and so hopefully that trend continues. But like I said, the transition and the morale during transition has been going well. I gave you a list of upcoming meetings. If there are any of those that you're interested in attending, particularly the ones that require registration with OML or something like that, please get with me or Sadie so we can get you registered and get your accommodations made. I think those are the ways that we become better municipal officials, whether appointed or elected, either one. Those opportunities are how we do a better job. We do have, I'll point out that CLEAT graduation is coming up on, CLEAT graduation is going to be April 17th. We've got 4 people going through CLEAT right now, and we'll have some representation go down for their graduation. I will be here. The Lieutenant Governor's Turkey Hunt is going to be the 15th through the 17th. This is annually, it's a big economic development event that we try to bring people in from around the world, really, to look at Northwest Oklahoma and the opportunities that we have here to see about locating or expanding their business here. Joe talked about Tyson. I talked about Ethan. You can see the EMS stats in there. We are working on the FY27 budget. We do need to set a date for a retreat. Can you guys say, do you prefer an after work if we can keep it to a reasonable amount of time versus a Saturday?
Yes.
Okay. We'll figure that out then. We'll shoot for an after work sometime early April, early to mid-April to get the retreat in so that we can go over that stuff. You can see the fire department statistics. I want to commend Stephanie and Sadie, but Stephanie has taken on the lion's share of the HR and payroll responsibilities while we've been without a person in that role, and she's done a great job helping us to not only keep up with what we need to be doing, but identifying opportunities to improve going forward. So really appreciate the work that everybody's been doing with that. Gail gave the library report. Maintenance, the homestead elevator is repaired, and they came out and did maintenance on it, and it's still working. And so hopefully that continues. We did talk during budget meetings about including a stair lift in the budget. So we'll see what that looks like, if we're going to be able to do that. You can see Courtney's report there. They've got spring sports starting up. Their tournaments are getting ready to start here soon. And they're hiring lifeguards already. So things are going the right direction there. I mentioned the officer, or it might have been before the meeting, but I mentioned the officers that are going to be graduating CLEAT. So we've been down 3 officers, and we've had 1 on leave. So Ben and Dave have been, our chief and assistant chief have been splitting night shifts and working day shifts and covering a lot of shifts to make sure that our community is served by law enforcement. You can kind of see their numbers in there. We're starting to hire our seasonal help for right-of-way crew, and you start the last day of winter and the first day of spring with upper 90s and hundreds, and I guess that means you're going to mow a little bit quicker in the year, but we'll probably freeze mid-April, I don't know. We are working on some process improvement in our utility office, and we have been pretty engaged in our water projects. We did have the majority of our project with Mock is done. There's some punch list items that they need to get taken care of, like bringing back the streets or the yards or whatever they've dug up, bringing those back to the condition they were when they found them. But the lines are in, the tie-ins are made. We did have some we're going to have some change orders regarding scope, because our property, or our water lines are, and I don't think this is any secret to anybody, but we don't know where all of them are. And so there was quite a bit of extra labor involved in locating some of our old lines, and even then we didn't get all of that correct, and that's happened both in town and in the well field. But some of that stuff we're working on other ways to self-perform some of that line identification and mapping. There's companies that do that for less money than what we charge, or what we would be experiencing a change order with Mock to do that, locating all those lines and capping some of the ones that need capped. So, we're on budget with that, and we did accomplish quite a bit. So, all the crews are, working hard and trying to get their stuff done, and more stuff every day. So, any questions about any of that or the written report?
So should number 7 be there, or should it be down here from 13?
We usually do it right after, so if they have anything on the agenda they want to
Okay.
speak about, they have that opportunity.
So on to number 7, do we have any remarks or inquiries by the 2 citizens that showed up tonight?
This is really exciting.
All right, moving on, number 8. Presentation of the fiscal year 2025 City of Alva audited financial statements by HSBG to include governmental and enterprise funds.
Andy, can you hear me?
I can, I'm here.
All right. Well, we are ready for your presentation.
Okay, very good. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Andy Gruber. I'm a shareholder with HSBG here in Oklahoma City. This is our third, heavens, it could be our 4th year now to do the city's financial statement audit. So we had a good discussion with the Finance Committee earlier this afternoon and went over this in more detail than we'll go here. But please let me know if there's any questions, and I'll slow down and hit them. But just know that we have had a more detailed discussion with the Finance Committee. So a couple, or at least one thing, there's 2 CPA firms involved. The first is the Crawford Associates. They act as consultants for the city. You may have heard their name or seen their invoices come across for approval, but they help the city get ready for the audit. They may help the city throughout the year as needed. They actually write the report and give it to us to review, but we do the city's audit. They help the city get ready for it. We are 2 different firms, different ownership, different contracts. We do different work by design so that, in effect, the auditors aren't auditing our own work. So just kind of know who we are. So you've got, there's maybe about a 70-page report that goes over the city's financial statements, and somewhere in that is our 3-page opinion that we prepared. The rest of it's prepared by the Crawfords that says your financial statements are materially correct. So it's what we would call an unmodified opinion, a clean opinion. Several terms to be used, but that's what the city wants. So when you hand this off to somebody, that's giving those users assurance that these numbers are materially accurate. So telling the Finance Committee, when I go over this, there's usually 2 things that I look at to see how's the city doing. And it's the general fund and utility authority, simply because those are the biggest funds for virtually every city and the most important funds. So maybe a little bit different metrics, but those are the 2 funds that I look at. So for the general fund, really I go and look at how is your fund balance, and specifically how is your unrestricted fund balance, and how much is that, and how long can you all survive if all your general fund revenues were to dry up, basically. So in essence, think of it as losing your job. How long can you last based on your reserves if you had no income coming in? And so for a city, I think a good rule of thumb is you'd like to have 1 to 3 months of annual revenue set aside as unrestricted fund balance. So for you all, the general fund really doesn't have any, to be honest. But what you have established is a stabilization reserve fund. So really I go to look at that and see, okay, well, how does that stack up based on this 1 to 3 months rule of thumb of revenues, and it's a little less, it's below 1 month of revenue. So I know you all are aware of this, and that stabilization reserve, you're putting money into it every year. You're putting essentially 2% of your budgeted expenses for both the general fund and the utility authority into that, so it is growing, but that's just where it is now. So at the end of 25, it was about 330,000 is what you had in the stabilization reserve. So that's where that stands. Now you've also got a hotel tax fund that is restricted, I think, primarily for economic development. Now it's got a fairly good chunk of change. It's about 570,000, so fairly healthy fund there. As far as the utility authority, there's a couple of things going on with that, but first and foremost, it did very well in 25 and really did well in 24. So what I really like to look at is just look at the operating revenues, just what, based on the daily operations of this thing, this is what it does, this is the revenues it collects, we have that, and then what are those operating expenses that generate those operating revenues. So just your daily operating expenses. It's not large capital outlay purchases, it's not servicing debt, it's just the cost of business to run the place. And so you take the revenues less those operating expenses, you've got the operating income left over. That percentage, your operating income compared to operating revenues, is very healthy. Really, it's healthier than other cities I see, so it's doing well. Now, getting into this, you've got some grant money in there that's certainly helping, and that's skewing the results a bit. But still, it's doing very well. It was able to transfer over, almost $2 million. I think about $1.9 million to the general fund, so the general fund could use that in its operations. And probably 7 out of 10 cities we work on, that's the direction it goes. It may not be that much, but that's the direction we like to see. Certainly, otherwise the general fund would be having to support the utility authority. So you all are in a good spot there. Really, as far as numbers, amounts, ins and outs, things going on, that's really all I wanted to get into. I've got a few other things I did want to talk about, but I thought before I moved on, Kelly, does anybody have any comments or questions just over the financial statements? Kind of what they're seeing before I move on?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, so at the back of this report, and if you don't have it or don't want to fumble around through it, that's fine. I'll try to just be clear on what I'm talking about. But at the back, there's 2 additional reports that are required. One is required by the state of Oklahoma. Every city has to include this. And then the second report is required by the federal government. So let's take both of these one at a time. The first one that's required by the state, it's got a section that deals with internal control and a section that deals with compliance. And so this is the city as a whole, and if we had any significant issues with your internal control or with your compliance, those comments would be in this report. And you might even be asking, okay, internal control, I kind of get that, but what are you talking about compliance? Compliance with what? And it's usually going to be compliance with state law that trips up a city. So state law, for instance, says you can't have negative fund balance, you can't overspend your budget, you have to do this, you have to do that, and the city didn't meet that requirement. So that could end up being a compliance issue. So we did have a few internal control comments, and we'll go over those. We did not have any compliance comments. So just to be clear, when we're looking at internal control, we're not testing the city's internal control. We're not giving an opinion on the city's internal control. We're just poking at it, looking around enough to help us plan our audit and figure out where the risk areas are and where do we need to spend more time or less time. So that's our involvement with the city's internal control. So we'll get into our comments here in a second. The second report that's required by the federal government. That's required because the city expended over $750,000 in federal awards during the year. And once you hit that threshold, then we are required to do an audit of compliance over those federal awards. In other words, did the city comply with the material compliance requirements that those awards had? Did you spend the money correctly? Did you fill out reports correctly? Did you do whatever you're supposed to correctly and in compliance with the award? So in fact, the city spent a little over $3.5 million during 2025. So you clearly, that's a good chunk of money. You're clearly in excess of the $750,000 threshold. So same kind of similar thing to the first report by the state. It's got a section on internal control and a section on compliance, but those deal only with federal awards. So in this case, we did have one comment over the internal control, so no issues on compliance. So our findings are this, and I think there's 5 of them. So the first one, we probably hand out to every 4 out of 5 small cities, and it's simply a segregation of duties type comment that says, hey, you guys just don't have a lot of employees that would be necessary to properly segregate your duties. So sometimes you may end up with one person doing multiple things that we don't want one person doing. But the truth of the matter is, it's one person or it doesn't get done. And so we understand that, and I guess the gist of it is just be aware of it, and know, yeah, it's an inherent limitation, but it doesn't mean you can't do anything. It means you, the city council, the finance committee, everyone needs to be involved in paying attention, asking questions to reports, and really providing some oversight and acting as a mitigating control to this inherent problem that you have. So again, we understand it is just, it doesn't make sense to go hire somebody just to segregate controls and pay somebody that you can't afford. So we understand that. But that's the comment there. The second comment really is a subset, and we thought it was important enough to break it out separately. But really, it could live under the first comment, and it does live under the first comment, but it deals specifically with payroll. So during 2025, really, the city had one employee that not only could, but was responsible for approving the transaction, recording the transaction, and having access to the underlying asset, i.e. being able to sign the check, without really any other independent or mitigating controls. And we don't want one person being responsible for all 3 of those areas. So there was, the city actually brought some concerns to our attention. We looked into those, and between what the city did and what we did, yes, there were some things done that probably weren't quite kosher, but they did not rise to a material amount to where we needed to call timeout. It's just, hey, city, you guys need to look at your processes, look at these controls, and reassign some people, get some other people involved, get them reviewing things, but just, kind of taking a fresh look at this. So that was that comment. There's a similar comment with utility billings. It's very similar to payroll. It's obviously you're collecting money instead of paying money, but the thinking or the theory behind it can be very similar to where we don't want one person having the ability to approve a transaction, record a transaction, and collect the cash and make the deposit without any kind of oversight by anybody else. So it's a very similar process, similar thinking. So just make sure take a fresh look at both of those areas and see what you can do there. So, and then in between those comments, we did mention that last year the city took out debt, I believe for about $50,000 as I recall. It did not get recorded in 24 on the city's audit. We missed it, the Crawfords didn't know about it. So luckily it was not a material amount. And it happened really because it was a non-cash transaction on day 1. you bought an ambulance or a fire truck, one of the two, I can't recall, and you promised to pay that back over time. So anyway, just, I guess the point there being, hey, let's make sure that we've got some kind of file, some kind of system, wherever we've got a debt agreement, we all know about it and we can account for it properly. So half the battle is just making us aware that this transaction has occurred. The accounting for it's often easy, we just know about it. Okay, so those are the four things we mentioned on the report to the state. The fifth thing deals with the report to the federal government. Similar to the debt issue, in 2024, the city had a federal grant. It charged amounts to it. Those amounts were not reported as they should have been in the 24 audit to the federal government. So they've been picked up in 25 and it'll get reported in 25, but they should have been reported in 24. So it's a similar kind of thing. Hey, if we just have a process for identifying all these grants, and grants can be hard. Sometimes it's, you got a grant, did it come from the federal government, did it come from the state? It came from the state, but really it got passed through the state from the federal government. And so that can be a little bit trickier, but just know it is important that we get these grants identified. So that was kind of a whirlwind, but Kelly, that's it on this big 70-page document. I've got two others that'll take 2 minutes to go through, but before I get to them, Kelly, anybody on this big document?
I don't think we have any questions. I think a lot of that we kind of internally identified, as you said, the stuff from 2024. Just for the council, if you'll remember, toward those of you that were on council, that was about the time Andy was probably completing the audit about the time we were making a decision to hire a finance director. And so finding those things in 2025 was appropriate since we didn't get those reported in 24. But a lot of the things he's talking about are things that I think you're aware of. We were identifying the need for process improvement.
Right. So, before these last two, so this big document is what gets submitted to the state auditor's office. Since the volume of federal dollars involved, it will also go to the federal government. Anybody who wants just a copy of your audit report, that's what they get, is a 70-page document with any findings associated. They're all in one report. We've also issued a separate one-page letter that is just meant for you all. We don't think it rises to the level of needing to be with the other comments, but it's just, hey guys, be aware of this matter. And so that deals with the federal grants, and that I was telling the finance committee, when we do the compliance test work, the very first question in our program asks, does the city have written policies and procedures over their federal dollars? And literally that is the first question. And so I think the city has written policies and procedures, but they're written more to comply with state law, which is fine, you gotta have that. But there are some differences and exceptions between state law and federal law. So in one case, state law is more restrictive, but in another case, federal law is more restrictive. And so if you just follow state law in some limited instances, you could end up blowing the federal law requirement. And then you're having question costs and things of that nature with your federal award. So just make sure you've got a policy that covers both, because there are some minor differences between the two. And then there's some additional requirements that the feds have in addition to purchasing. It's when do you draw down the money, how do you report things? And so just make sure you've got all of these various things covered. And talking with the finance committee, I think the Crawfords could help with that. There's a number of places to go, so you're not reinventing the wheel from scratch. And really, truly the purchasing policy or part of it is clearly the biggest one. That's where you're spending the money, but it's not the only one. And then there's a third document that is, I just call it a required communication letter. We are required to hand that out to the governing body and there's 6 or 7 bullet points in it. I think that we have to communicate really whether there's anything under those bullet points to say or not. And so just, you should have that in your packet or your handout. And I don't think there's either nothing there or I've already talked about it. So I don't want to take any longer going over those things. But just know you do have, it's maybe a 3-page letter if you just kind of want to see what in the world I might be talking about. It's a 3-page letter, and really I think that's it. So Kelly and his group were, as usual, just fabulous to work with. They were very forthcoming in their answers, and when we asked them some generic questions, they gave some pretty specific answers, and so that was good to hear. And they answered their questions truthfully, and so I appreciate that. So we enjoyed it. So thanks Kelly, to you and your group. But really, I think that's it then. So unless anybody has any questions or comments, that's all I had.
Well, Andy, you must have done an incredible job of explaining. Either that or they understood it all when they read it. But I will echo, we appreciate working with HSPG, and we'll know we've at least got one more in us, and so we'll be looking forward to, I guess, the next engagement letter, and then moving on from there. But our next agenda item is to accept the audit. And I guess going once, no questions. All right, Andy, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Great. All right, number 9. Discussion and action to accept the City of Alva audited financial statements for fiscal year 2025 governmental and enterprise funds. Is there any discussion? I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the city audited financial statements for FY 2025 governmental and enterprise funds.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Bowman and a second by Mr. Hoffman. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Bowman,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Ferris,
Yes.
Swallow,
Yes.
Frukenberg,
Yes.
Lahr.
Yes.
On to number 10. Discussion and action to approve and authorize the mayor or city business manager to sign the Prisoners Public Works Project contract by and between the City of Alva and the Oklahoma Department of Corrections with an effective date range of April 1, 2026 through June 30th of 2027. Is there any discussion?
Mostly just a mow, I'm assuming.
Mostly to mow. We'll be able to use them if we, if we're doing a chip and seal project and we need somebody to shovel, chips and, stuff like that. But it'll be a lot of yard work.
And we pay, but it's like
No,
very
it's,
minimal compared to
yeah,
what we get out of it.
it's in the contract, but it's not much.
What I gathered from the discussions was they are just absolutely not allowed to be doing any work anywhere within the vicinity of minors.
Yeah.
So I would entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve item 10 as stated in the agenda. Second.
Right, we have a motion by Mr. Parsons, a second by Mr. Kruckenberg. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Parsons,
Yes.
Frukenberg,
Yes.
Swallow,
Yes.
Lahr,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Ferris.
Yes.
On to 11. Number 11, discussion and action to acknowledge the receipt of permit number 762601114 from the Oklahoma Environmental Quality for the construction of water lines and appurtenances to serve the Avard Regional Rail Trust Authority. Is there any discussion?
As it states in there, this is part of the roughly $14 million that the Avard Rail Park is contributing to our water infrastructure. This is going to be both raw water line as well as potable water lines, so water directly from the wells to our treatment station, and then water from our treatment station to our ground storage tank. So it's almost 5 miles of line. It's a lot of project, and the work is pretty well complete. We just, DEQ wants us to acknowledge receipt of the permit.
Is there any other discussion?
I'm just going to state too, had a lot of people, I know the data center thing's got brought up a lot, but a lot of people are, when we finish this project, we have ownership of the water lines, but they don't have just the right to do whatever they want with the water. I just want that to be on record, correct.
There would have to be, if anything, any industry or customer that were to come in and purchase water off of our system, we would have to be able to ensure that it's not going to exceed our capacity.
And that's what I just want on record.
Or deplete us below a certain level of our capacity. And so, it is our water to do with as we deem best for our community and our people.
I just wonder, because I know a lot of people that think that they're putting this in and that they can just bring in any company in the world, and if it sucks the well field dry, then there's nothing we can do about it. That's not how it is.
Any further discussion? I would entertain a motion.
All motions approve item 11 as stated in the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Parsons and a second by Mr. Hoffman. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Parsons.
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
Krukenberg.
Yes.
Swallow.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Ferris.
Yes.
Number 12, discussion and action to approve Resolution 2026-001, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Alva, Oklahoma, removing, adding, and retaining authorized signers for the City of Alva financial accounts, including general governmental accounts and enterprise accounts, effective March 23rd, 2026. Is there any discussion?
We have a typo. That's 2026-002 is the resolution. Are we okay, Drew? Because we did 2026-001 already this year.
The substance of the resolution, nothing else changed in it besides just the number.
Just the number.
Okay, I think as long as they approve it with the correct number, that's fine.
So the only thing that's not included in this is the Appendix A. The Appendix A has the account numbers, and so for fraud prevention and all of that, it's not being shared. But the account numbers are listed with who the authorized signers are. And so there's about a page and a half of various CDs, bank accounts, ICS accounts, and stuff like that. But, this does remove anybody that potentially is still left on an account that shouldn't have been on one or doesn't need to remain on one, and it adds those people in that need to be on. The mayor, the treasurer, and the clerk sign all of our AP checks. We do have 2 backup signers. Historically, we've had 1 backup signer, which was one of the clerks in the office. But with this resolution, this actually adds the council president, Mr. Bowman. Since he serves in the absence of the mayor, this goes ahead and gets him on the signature cards. In the event that something were to happen to the mayor, our AP processes are not held up by the signature cards. And they were a little bit when we had the transition back in December. So that's the biggest part of it.
Any further discussion? I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2026-002.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-002, a resolution of the City of Alva, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Alva, Oklahoma, removing, adding, and retaining authorized signers for the City of Alva financial accounts, including general governmental accounts and enterprise accounts effective March 23rd, 2026.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Bowman and a second by Mr. Lahr. Any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Bowman,
Yes.
Lahr,
Yes.
Swallow,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Rudenberg,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Parsons.
Yes.
All right, number 13, do we have any new business?
Nothing qualifies.
Nothing that qualifies. Do we have any remarks or inquiries by council members?
Are we gonna start patching them holes on 4th Street? Seem like horrible.
That's part of Mock's obligation. And so, yeah, they're sending in a different crew to do that, but yes, we are.
Anything else? I believe we will adjourn that meeting and seamlessly flow right into the Alva Utility Authority call to order. Would you do a roll call, please?
Thank
Hoffman,
you.
Here.
Thank you.
Lahr,
Here.
Rudenberg,
Here.
Swallow,
Here.
Bowman,
Here.
Parsons,
Here.
Harris,
Here.
Adair.
All right, we have a quorum. Ready for number 3? Everybody up to speed? All right, number 3, discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items, which concern reports and items of routine nature normally approved at AUA meetings, will be approved by one vote of the authority. Any trustee desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items. A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 17th, 2026. And B, approval of claims in the amount of $226,169.72 and payroll expenses of $27,193.45. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. With our discussion meetings, with those just being discussion meetings, do the minutes not need to be approved? I didn't see that on there.
Did we take minutes? I don't even remember.
Oh, I'm thinking council. I'm not thinking, this is not council. Never mind. That was a dumb question. I rescind.
It's a question we have.
Yeah.
Previous.
Right, because we did do a utility authority meeting.
I'll double check on that.
Okay, yeah, this, one place for the question, but
Yeah. Okay, any further discussion? No?
Yes.
Still. I will now entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
A motion by Mr. Lahr and a second
Second.
by Mr. Hoffman. Any further discussion? Would you please call a vote?
Lahr,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Swallow,
Yes.
Rudenberg,
yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Number 4, discussion and action to approve and authorize the mayor or city business manager to sign change order number 2 for the water line relocation, Highway 64 Skyline, project number 223058 for Jackson Civil LLC with a $49,101.60 increase in the contract price. Is there any discussion?
So this was for the, like it says, for the work at 64 and Skyline. It's all complete. This is both materials and labor that were needed in addition to what they anticipated, but also it includes some reductions in labor and materials based on other aspects of the project. So put all that together, It's about a $49,000 increase in the contract price, which is what ODOT will pay. This is not a City of Alva funding obligation, so this is an ODOT project, but it is our water line and our water infrastructure, so it's our change order.
All right, any further discussion? Entertain a motion.
I motion to approve item 4 as stated in the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Parsons, and a second. Second by Mr. Kruckenberg. Any further discussion? Would you please call the vote?
Parsons,
Yes.
Rickenberg,
Yes.
Swallow,
Yes.
Lahr,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Yeah.
See what I did?
I saw what you did. It really threw me for a second, too.
I should have somebody read these.
I'm like, Okay, is there any new business? None? All right, we will adjourn that meeting and flow right into the Alva Economic Development Authority meeting. Call this meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Hoffman,
Here.
Lahr,
Here.
Rickenberg,
Here.
Swallow, Bowman,
Here.
Parsons,
Here.
Harris,
Here.
Adair.
All right, we have a quorum. And on to number 3, discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at AEDA meetings will be approved by one vote of the authority. Any trustee desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items. A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 17th, 2026. And B, approval of claims in the amount of $14,467.88 and payroll expenses of $19,821.06. Is there any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Mr. Hoffman and a second by Mr. Lahr. Any further discussion? Would you please call the vote?
Hoffman,
Yes.
Lahr,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Swallow,
Yes.
Rickenberg,
Yes.
All right, is there any new business?